So today, we're not just looking at a language. We're going to become architects for a bit. We're going to explore the fascinating blueprint that holds an entire language together.
I mean, it seems like a pretty simple question, doesn't it? But the thing is, the answer, it changes dramatically depending on what language you're speaking. The rules, the materials you use, the whole design, it can be just completely different.
All right, so let's get into it. The language we're going to be looking at today is Tamazight. It's spoken by the Amazigh people all across North Africa. And trust me, its blueprint is really, really unique. So let's start with the most basic building materials of any language. Its sounds.
Okay, don't worry, we're not going to sit here and memorize a whole alphabet, but we do need to get a feel for the unique sound palette that Tamazight is working with. So, it's based on a Latin alphabet, which is familiar, but it adds these really deep, emphatic consonants. You'll also see doubled consonants for emphasis, and get this, it builds entire words with just 4 vowels, and one of those is silent. All of this comes together to create a really distinct and powerful sound.
Okay, so now that we have our sound palette, let's grab our first major building block, the noun. Now, here's where things get interesting. In Tamazight, nouns aren't just these static, unchanging things. Nope, they're dynamic. Every single noun has like 2 distinct faces.
This whole idea is called the noun state, and it's absolutely a core principle of the language's architecture. What it means is that the word for, say, man or girl or star can actually physically change. It'll look and sound different depending on the job it's doing in a sentence. The word itself literally transforms.
So, think of it this way. You've got the free state. That's the noun, just chillin', at rest, like how you'd find it in a dictionary. But when it gets a job to do in a sentence, bam, it changes into its construct state. It's kind of like it's putting on its work uniform. So the word for man, which is argaz, becomes ergaz as soon as it's the one actively doing something.
So you're probably wondering, when exactly does a noun put on this uniform? Well, there are very clear rules for this. It flips into its construct state whenever it's the subject of the sentence, the one actually doing the action. It also happens when it's placed right after a preposition, like to, from, or in, or even when it follows a number. And right here, you can see exactly how this works in practice. And the cool thing is, the changes are totally predictable. So for masculine nouns, that initial ah sound might shift to a oo sound. For feminine nouns, ta often gets clipped down to just ta. See? It's not random at all. It's a really consistent, kind of elegant system. All right, let's move on to our next piece of the puzzle. If the noun is our primary building block, then the verb, well, that's the action piece. And in Tamazight, every single verb is like its own little toolkit, and it comes with 4 specialized tools right out of the box. So, think about English for a sec. We take a verb, like do, and we just add stuff to it to change the tense, right? Did, doing, does. But in Tamazight, it's totally different. The verb itself comes in 4 different fundamental forms before you even start adding anything else to it. Let's just take the verb skra, which means to do, to see how these tools work. You've got the aorist form, that's for the future and for commands. Then you have the accomplished form for the past. But check this out, if you want to say something didn't happen in the past, the root of the verb itself changes to skir. Crazy, right? And for actions that are happening right now or are continuous, it becomes skar. The root of the verb is what's telling you the tense. So once you've picked the right tool from your toolkit for the job, past, present, future, then you just add these little prefixes and suffixes to show who is actually doing the action, whether it's I, you, she, or they.
Okay, so we've got our shape-shifting nouns and our specialized verb toolkits. Now for the really fun part. Let's actually build a sentence and see this incredible architecture in action.
Okay, here it is. Ifka argaz tasarut I urube. Now let's just take a breath and break down what's happening here piece by piece. First things first, what does it even mean? The translation is, the man gave the key to the boy. Simple enough. Okay, now let's go back and deconstruct the Tamazight version. Okay, look closely at this. The very first word, ifka, that's the verb he gave. Then, right after it, comes ergaz. Do you see it? That's our noun argaz wearing its work uniform. It's in the construct state. Why? Because it's the subject. Next up is tasarut, the key. And then finally, I orba, to the boy. And here it is again. The word for boy, argaz, has also shifted to its construct state, urba, because it comes right after that preposition I, which means to. See how it all just clicks into place? It's perfect. Seeing that sentence all put together reveals something so much deeper than just a bunch of grammar rules. It really shows us how the very structure of a language can actually shape the way a story gets told. Just think back to that example for a second. What was the very first word? It wasn't the man, was it? Nope. The first word was ifka. He gave. The action itself is what kicks off the entire sentence.
And this, right here, is the final major piece of our architectural blueprint. English, as you know, is typically a subject-verb-object language. The man gave the key. But Tamazight, it's primarily a verb-subject-object language. It puts the action first. Gave the man the key. It's a completely different way of ordering reality within a sentence.
So, what are the big takeaways from our little architectural tour today? Well, number one, nouns in Tamazight physically change their shape based on the job they're doing. Number two, verbs come prepackaged in a 4-piece toolkit for different situations. And number three, sentences are built action first, always leading with the verb. And all this leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Grammar, it's not just a boring set of rules, right? It's really a lens through which we see the world. So I want you to consider this. If your language forced you to state the action first, before you even said who did it, how might that change the way you see things, the way you think, and maybe even the way you tell your own stories?